to interact with us, to speak up and unmute yourself. You can also, if you wish, just type in the chat box there and interact with us. We're very happy to have you here. So let's begin. Again, my name is Nathan, and I'm with Akashic Trancework. And in Akashic Trancework, what we do is we explore our Akashic space, our inner space. We explore consciousness. And as we've come to understand how consciousness works through our studies, through working with clients and students in our modality, we've come to recognize that consciousness, the mind, the spirit, grows and evolves in a predictable, repeatable pattern, which is very helpful to us. Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here. We're talking about the pattern at which consciousness grows. It's a predictable cycle that we can perceive. And as we've come to understand how consciousness works, we've come to understand the interconnectedness of all things. This is the Ubuntu principle, the principle of oneness. We are all one body. We are all one being, but we're also separate. It's our actual perception of our separateness in many ways that defines us as individuals. So as we came to understand this, understand the Ubuntu principle, which means I am because we are, a further understanding came to us, a channeled understanding from the deep Akashic records. We are, we activate, we release, and we expand. When I use those terms, most people resonate immediately with them. We've all been through activations. Activations happen when our awareness of something is triggered. We become aware of something. We see something, we know something, we feel something that we previously didn't before. Our universe changes. Our worldview shifts. Our perspective shifts. And when that happens, oftentimes we become aware of things that are holding us back. Blockages, beliefs, old fears, old traumas, old stories, maybe old relationships or job situations or living situations or lifestyles, things that are holding us back from our full actualization, from our full realization of who we can be. So when we are fully activated, we come upon the opportunity to release those things. It's a choice. It's always a choice. Sometimes, rather than release, we suppress. And sometimes we have to do this in life. We don't have a lot of space, oftentimes, when things happen to go through this release process. So we end up suppressing. But what happens when we suppress, eventually we begin to suffer. Sometimes we call this process of activation, suppression, and suffering the ass cycle, because we don't want to be an ass. We want to go through and activate, release, and expand. We are. We don't want to be asses, right? We want to move through those things that are challenging us. We want to release those things that are challenging us. And when we do that, when we make space, that's when the real fun begins. We can begin to expand our consciousness, to expand our understanding of the universe. And this is where the deep Akashic wisdom comes from letting go of those things, from moving through fear, from moving through trauma, from moving through limiting beliefs, and allowing ourselves to receive the inner wisdom, to receive purpose, to connect with the eternal consciousness around us, with the Akashic record. So when we get to the expansion phase, it's an opportunity to look within, to look into our past lives, to look into our ancestral connections, to look into our spirit realms, to look into other dimensions of being, but also it's what allows us to manifest in our physical 3D lives the things that we want, those opportunities, those jobs, those relationships that help us to thrive. We want to move beyond survival mechanisms into thriving mechanisms. And that's the underlying principle, the core principle of Akashic Trancework: activation, release, and expansion. And all of the tools we developed around those things all come back to this core. So let's talk about what we'll be discussing today a bit. So, first, we'll go through some tools for accessing trance states, for moving ourselves into different levels of awareness. And then we'll talk about astral boundaries. What do we do once we've achieved a state of trance? What do we do when we're accessing, connecting to our astral space, to our inner space? And then I'll demonstrate some of these principles by taking you through a brief guided journey, a guided meditation. So you want to be in a relaxed place with that, with headphones ideally. And then after that, we'll have a little bit of time to talk about our experiences. And if you want to share about what happened or ask any questions, you can do so. Again, I am actually here, which I know is unusual for some of these webinars, but we like to engage with people. So we're happy to be here with you and connect. So let's talk a little bit about trance work and trance states and why we care about them. The Egyptians taught that we have 360 senses. In Western society, in our world, we only think about maybe 5 or 6 senses. We think about our 5 physical senses, and then we talk about our 6th sense, our psychic intuitive sense. We may also start talking about clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, things like that, these other senses that we have, but they tend to be kind of vague and ill-defined, and we may not have a real concept for what these senses are, but in reality, we have the ability to access many levels of awareness. And when we begin to engage our deeper awareness, our trance states, we begin to connect with ourselves, with the subconscious aspect of ourselves, which is in reality most of who we are. Most of who we are is unconscious. Most of what we are is about these running patterns, these underlying structures of the mind that we don't see, we're not aware of, but they work, they function. And most of the healing and empowerment work that we need to do in order for it to be really effective really needs to touch us at that subconscious level. The conscious mind, which we sometimes call the ego narrative or the ego mind, is not really our friend in many cases. We can sit and we can tell ourselves affirmations all day long. We can say, I am love, I am wealth, I am abundance. But eventually, the conscious mind tends to kind of talk us out of those things because of our running dialogue, our inner narratives, right? So when we begin to explore these other levels of awareness, these altered states of consciousness, we can engage the subconscious mind using the symbolic, imaginative, creative dream language of the subconscious. And that's how we connect to our deeper selves, to our higher selves, to our true selves by exploring these different states. So let's talk a little bit about what they look like. You can actually see these different states of mind, these different states of awareness on an EEG. Let's take a look here. You may be familiar with these things, beta, alpha, delta, theta, gamma. You may have heard about these things or maybe not, but you can really visually see the difference between them. The beta state is very tight, a little agitated, very active. And then the gamma state, the most relaxed state, is pretty clear. There's not much happening there. It's a state of full rest, a full relaxation. So let's drill down a little bit and talk about these different states and what we do with them. Beta states are your normal, active, interactive, engaged states of mind. When your beta waves are highly active in your mind, you are aware of everything going on around you. If you're experiencing any level of fear or anxiety or agitation, you have a high level of beta activity in your mind. It's not always that, though. We need beta activity to go about our lives, to get our tasks done, to engage with people, to take care of ourselves, take care of our responsibilities. People that don't have enough beta activity tend to be very ungrounded. They don't have a lot of energy. They may be kind of spaced out all the time. They may find that they can't concentrate or focus. They can't get tasks done. And those people most likely need to stimulate more beta activity in their minds, which they can do through a number of different ways. Practice of earthing and grounding is great for that. There's biofeedback techniques you can use with things like binaural beats and other sound healing techniques. A lot of techniques for bringing in more beta activity, but in Akashic Trance work, we don't focus a whole lot on activating our beta awareness, 'cause it's not a trance state, it's an actual fully engaged 3D physical state. So in Akashic trance work, we primarily focus on the alpha, theta, and gamma states, and somewhat the delta states. The alpha state is when you're daydreaming, when you're meditating. If you use any kind of hallucinogen or teacher plant, usually those will induce a very powerful alpha state. It's still engaged, it's still active. You can still interact with the world, but you're also engaged with your inner space, with what we call our astral space. And we'll talk more about the alpha states here in a minute. Most of us go into alpha states pretty regularly and pretty easily, but we want to work on some specific ways that we can bring about those alpha states. The delta state is that place of sleep. When you're in deep delta, you're completely inert, you're completely asleep, you have no concept of what's going on around you. In a deep delta, somebody could come into a room and even, bang a drum and you might not even wake up because you're so relaxed. Delta states are very good. They're very healing, they're very relaxing. We all need to go into at least a few hours of deep delta every day to really rest, to really relax. But we don't do a lot of work in those delta states because we want to engage the subconscious mind. And while delta can be a very receptive place to receive healing, it's not an engaged place. You don't engage with the mind, really. You're fully asleep, you're fully rested. The theta states are kind of the sweet spot of trance work. When people talk about going into a trance, about hypnosis or shamanic journey or anything like that, they're talking about going into a theta state. Theta states are where you go when you're dreaming or very deeply meditating. When you're in that place, you might have some awareness of what's going on around you, but you're pretty much in your inner place, your inner sleep, your inner state. So we work a lot in theta states. It's that sweet spot of trance work that we try to get to and recover information from. It's that place that we go in to recover Akashic knowledge or Akashic wisdom. So we have techniques for inducing theta states, which we'll talk about here in a moment. And I wanted to also talk about the gamma state. And the gamma state, the best word that I can think of for describing what a gamma state is magic. I like to use that word magic because it brings in a lot of powerful associations. The gamma state is perfectly balanced, perfectly aware, heightened, enlightened. It's that place of pure heart centered awareness. The more that we cultivate our heart centers, the more that we cultivate our joyful, loving, compassionate feelings, the more that we bring about this gamma level awareness, which is perfectly centered, perfectly relaxed, perfectly at peace, but also aware. It's a state of grace. That's one way you could put it. We would like to cultivate these states, but we can't really induce them. Gamma states are what happen when people have been meditating or doing trance work or spiritual practice for a long time. They've learned to cultivate these states, to feed these states. So when we can get to these gamma states, we know we're doing something right. It's not to say that you have to wait years to get to a gamma state. You could choose to go into one right now. We actually have some methods for bringing about this gamma awareness. But ultimately, we primarily focus on inducing alpha and theta states. And if we get to a gamma place, that's great. So let's talk a little bit more about the power of the alpha trance state. Most likely, you go into an alpha trance many times a day. The kind of people who are drawn to this work tend to be daydreamers. They tend to be visionaries. They tend to live very much in their minds and in their hearts and in their inner worlds. We call that astral space. Now, I know that when most people talk about astral space, they're talking about traveling off to another dimension or leaving their bodies or whatever it might be. But when we talk about astral space, we're talking about all of our non physical experiences. We contrast that with physical space, which is predictable. You can always predict what's going to happen in physical space using the laws of physics, right? If you pick up a ball and you drop it, it's going to fall at the same rate, the same velocity every time. If you have an imaginary ball, an astral ball, and you drop that, anything could happen. Maybe it's going to dissolve. Maybe it'll turn into a bird. Maybe you turn into the ball. Who knows, right? All kinds of things can happen. And we believe these are real things. These are real, valuable, powerful things. The power of imagination, the value of these trance states, the value of daydreaming and visualizing and visioning has been very much discounted in Western society. But those of us who are real creatives, who create things, who build things, know the power of this. They know how important imagining is, how important visioning is. Every object that you have around you was at one point an astral object that somebody thought of. So this is the place where all manifestation begins. It's a real powerful place. There's a lot of visions that can be received in that place. And it's nice because you can engage with people. You can engage with your physical space if you need to in that place and still be astrally aware and still connect to your astral awareness. So in the Akashic Trance work, we develop some techniques that can intentionally bring us into these alpha states at any time. And again, people tend to go here naturally, very easily, but we want to be able to intentionally bring ourselves there so that we know what state we're in. When we know what state we're in, we're intentionally activating a sense, activating a level of awareness, activating a dimension of awareness. And it's a very powerful, very empowering state to be in. So we've developed a couple different techniques for getting ourselves easily into these alpha states. And these techniques can be applied to all these different trance states. And we're going to go through how they work in alpha and theta. To get into an alpha state, there's a couple different methods that we most commonly use. And these are nice because they don't require anyone else. They don't require that you be anywhere, that you do anything, or that you listen to anything. As long as you can breathe or make noise with your mouth, you can do these things. You can do these things in the woods, you can do them in your bedroom, you can do them while walking. You could do them while driving. I don't recommend it because you might get a little bit too relaxed and, stop paying attention, but you can do them anywhere. There's no requirements other than just yourself. So the primary method that we use for getting into a trance state is the breath. It's the simplest method that we have for connecting with ourselves. Anybody can do this. All you have to do is just count your breath. If you've done any kind of yoga or meditation or martial arts or any kind of athletic practice, then you know how important the breath is. The breath is really everything. I always tell our initiates the breath is your lifeline. It's always your lifeline throughout all of your trance work because anytime you're feeling any level of agitation, you can relax yourself with the breath. These practices are about relaxation. In order to have that true Akashic experience, that true deep trance experience, we need to be able to relax our bodies. The bodies must relax. The body must feel safe. It's very important. So by relaxing ourselves, we send that signal, that message to our bodies. Everything's okay. We're going to relax and engage with our astral space now. So the breath is very important. It's a very important tool for that. So the alpha breath we found for most people is about 5-second count on the inhale and a 5 count on the exhale, right? It varies a little bit depending on your lung capacity. If you have a large lung capacity, maybe a bit more. I don't recommend going beyond 7 seconds. Once you go into a longer breath, you're going to be breathing yourself down into a theta or even a delta state. So we don't really want to do that. We want to try and maintain the alpha state by being mindful of our breath. So if you're in a place where you can do this, I recommend trying this out. Let's try this out for about 30 seconds. So just sit back and relax. Just take a couple normal, comfortable breaths. I'm going to breathe in for 5 and out for 5. I'll count for you. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you should immediately begin to feel yourself engaging a bit more with your inner world, a bit more with your thoughts and feelings and ideas, whatever's going on inside of you now. However that might feel to you, that's a different story, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But this is how we begin to engage with our astral space, how we begin to connect with our inner knowing. We recognize that breath work isn't appropriate for everyone at all times. Maybe you don't want to count your breath. Maybe you're too agitated and the breath isn't helping. You can do all the breathing you want to, but if it's not helping you to relax, if you have too much fear or too much anxiety or too much just elevation going on, then it won't work, honestly. But we have other methods that we use. And one of the most powerful methods for achieving different states of consciousness that we found is the practice of toning. Toning is just using the voice to make noises, to make sound within our body. Specifically, we've learned to vibrate our voices into different parts of our bodies. If you're a singer or someone who likes to sing, you've already done this, most likely. If you're a mother, you've probably done this to soothe your child. We do it intentionally. We bring our voice to different parts of our bodies, which all of us can do. You can control where your voice is. You can speak at a high pitched voice or a low pitched voice or a medium pitched voice. You can you can move your voice around in your body. And it's a lot of fun to explore what you can do. And with toning, we're not making any words. We're not making any specific notes or trying to say anything in particular. We're just kind of humming. We're not performing. We're not trying to sound good. You don't have to be able to sing for this. It's just finding your voice and feeling the vibration of your voice in your body. It's very effective. It's very relaxing and it's very easy. If you can make sounds, you can do this. So, in order to bring ourselves into an alpha state, what we found is we vibrate our voice into our head, into our third eye, into our eyes, into our nose and mouth and throat, into our brains. It activates our higher senses. It activates our inner senses. It's very easy. So I invite you, if you're in a place to do this, to sit back a bit and take a deep breath, and we'll try it together. Just kind of humming, just intentionally humming into your face, keeping your voice up there. So if you can't do this right now, that's fine, but try it sometime and let us know what you think. So take a deep breath in. Mm. Have your mouth open or closed, however you feel. Mm. It's very relaxing. And if you do it right, you should be able to kind of feel the vibration in your eyes and your cheeks and your nose. It's awakening you, it's activating you. It's an activation. And that's what toning is. Toning is very powerful. This entire modality, the real strength of it started through the development of toning practice, through the learning of toning practice. So that's the power of toning. That's how magical it really is. And if you can master toning, you can bring yourself to any state of awareness very quickly. If you're familiar with chanting or mantra or anything like that, or toning into the different chakras, it's very similar, but it's very simple. Anyone can do it as long as you can produce a voice. Children love to do it. It's fun to do with a partner. It's interesting if you start to play with the different tones in your voice, how the sound waves work if you're doing with someone else. So I encourage exploring that a little bit. So that's the alpha trance. Let's talk a little bit about theta trance. Your theta state is where you go when you're dreaming. Normally, in a normal night, if you have a restful night, if you're able to sleep, you would go down into a delta state and get the physical rest your body needs, get the rest your mind needs, and then you go up to a theta state. And you'll move back and forth between these states during the course of the night. You might go into a gamma state at some point, but most of the time, you're going to be moving between delta and theta. And that's a very powerful place. That's where the real engagement with the symbolic mind, with the spirit realm happens in those theta states. The problem is most of us don't remember our dreams, or even if we do, we can't really control what's going on. If you're able to lucid dream and remember what's happening, then you are essentially an astral traveler. You are very powerful. But most of us Can't do that very readily, very easily. So what inducing a theta state does when we do it from a waking place, from an alpha state or from a beta state, it allows us to make that journey to connect with our deeper self, to reprogram ourselves, to work through trauma, to connect with our past lives and our ancestors at a deep level, to read the Akashic record and then come back out and remember it. This is really what an Akashic record reading is going into that deep theta place, into the deep subconscious, connecting to that collective unconscious, and then bringing something out. We want to go in, get information, and then bring it out and process it and communicate about it. It's very powerful. But the trick is, if we induce theta states, if we try to induce theta states, oftentimes our bodies want to just fall asleep. It's a natural progression. The more relaxed you get, the more likely your body is to want to go to sleep, which is fine. Sometimes we need sleep. Sleep is very healing, but we're trying to cultivate connection. We're trying to interface with the subconscious mind, with the spirit realm through our visual exercises, through the visualization that we do. So we want to learn how to get ourselves to theta as deep as possible, but so that we can still communicate or at very least remember what happens when we're in those states. So for most people, the theta breath is going to be about 7 counts on the inhale and 7 counts on the exhale. Maybe again a bit more if you have a large lung capacity. It may be as many as 10 seconds, but we don't want to go too deep. Our deepest breath will usually take us down into delta, which is fine. Again, if you're trying to do that, that's a great tip. And if you have trouble sleeping, then I recommend taking the deepest breath you possibly can, and that will put you in the state where you can sleep pretty quickly. Think of the theta breath as your second deepest breath, the deepest relaxation you can get to without actually fully falling asleep. That's the breath that will bring you to theta. So let's give this a try. If you're in a place where you can do this, I recommend sitting back, maybe even laying back for a moment if you can. And we'll just go through a couple cycles because this is so relaxing that we don't want to take ourselves too deep right now. But I want to just demonstrate how effective this breath can be. So find a comfortable spot. Just take a couple comfortable, normal breaths. And we're going to breathe in for 7 seconds and then out for 7 seconds. And I'll count for you. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's immediately very relaxing. If I do it too much, even just counting like that will begin to make me want to lay down and engage with my astral space. So it's a very relaxing way to bring ourselves to those places. But again, breath work is not for everyone. Sometimes we don't want to count our breath. Maybe it's not effective. We have too much going on. So again, just like with the alpha state, we can use toning. We can tone ourselves into that place where we want to go. I would say that the theta tone is one of my favorite experiences in life because it's so deeply soothing and relaxing. When I do Akashic record readings or if I'm going to explore my own astral space, I primarily use toning, especially the theta tone, because it brings me in so deep. No matter what's going on in my mind or in my heart, I can tone myself down very quickly. And again, toning is not about trying to sound good. You don't have to sound good, but you can play with it. You can make different patterns, you can use different sounds, but the important thing for the theta tone is to try and vibrate the voice, try and hum down into that space between the heart and the solar plexus. And that's what will bring us into a theta state pretty quickly. So I invite you again to try it with me. And if you can't do this right now, try it later and let us know how it goes. Let's take just a deep breath in. Mm. Don't force it, just let it flow out. Mm. It doesn't have to be loud, doesn't have to be audible. It's just about feeling the vibration. Vibration and sound are everything. They're very healing. If you think about how a mother soothes a child, it's very primal to be relaxed by that vibration. And again, in order to really access that Akashic knowledge, we need to be able to relax. People who cannot relax, who won't choose to relax, who are always at a level of elevation, will not be able to go into a trance. They need to go through their conscious mind narratives. They need to find enough trust and peace within themselves to be able to let go of that continual conscious fear, that resistance, that reluctance. So that is a prerequisite for trance work, to be able to choose to relax. So those are the trance states. And that's how we get there. Not too hard. Most people can get to those trance states fairly easily. Oftentimes, when I work with clients and students, I induce trance states using my voice. So even if you can't get yourself down there, someone like myself can bring you there, or you can listen to a guided recorded meditation or something like that, and that will induce that state. But the question is, what do you do once you get there? Once you're alone in your astral space, once you're there with your thoughts and your feelings and your memories and your ideas and your inspirations and your fears and your beliefs and all the people that you think about and all the relationships and your job and your finances and all this stuff that's going on in your mind, what do you do once you get there? And that's really where the heart of Akashic trance work is. Anybody can teach you how to induce a trance state. We've developed these tools, but most people can get there pretty easily. What's important is what we do when we get there. And the most fundamental practice that we have in Akashic trance work, where everything starts and stops, is at the astral boundary, at the inner boundary. We talk a lot about boundaries and interpersonal work and sort of psycho spiritual practice. It's very important to set boundaries in our lives. What people can communicate with us, what can people say to us. We don't want to be violated, right? We want to have our boundaries respected. But are we respecting our own boundaries? Are we setting inner boundaries? Even if you send someone away, even if you send someone out of your life completely, if you're thinking about them, they are within your astral boundary. You're still giving them energy. You're still feeding them energy because you're spending time. You're spending time. You're not thinking about anything else at that moment. You're devoting your energy to them. Maybe it's not a person, maybe it's a situation. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's some sort of spiritual energy. It could be anything. It doesn't really matter what it is. Whatever you are giving your time to, whatever you are giving your thoughts to, that's where your energy is. And that's what you're feeding. That's what you're nourishing, whatever it might be. So by creating astral boundaries, we protect our energy. We give ourselves a center. We center ourselves. So the most important astral boundary that we create is the safe space. And the fundamental tool, the fundamental mechanical process is just to imagine a place. Most of us can do this pretty easily. Imagination is important. Imagination is what allows us to interface with the subconscious, with the spirit realm, by speaking the language of the subconscious. The subconscious speaks in symbolism, it speaks in association. That's where the communication with the subconscious happens. So by creating these intentional astral spaces, these intentional Safe spaces, we are activating our joy, we're activating our happiness. One of the most common safe spaces that people use when I start to work with them is the beach. Most people have very positive feelings about the beach. They think about it, they feel relaxed, they have good memories there. They can very easily imagine being at the beach. They can imagine the texture of the sand, of the water. They can bring in the smells and the sounds and the sensation of the sun on their skin. There's a lot of positive associations around the beach. And that's what matters. Whatever your safe space is, whatever it might be, it has to be something that makes you feel good. Most of us hopefully have positive feelings, positive memories in our lives. And whether we spend all of our time alone or we're always busy and we barely have a moment to sit down, or hopefully it's, somewhere in between, few of us tend to cultivate these spaces. In our physical lives, we build shelters, we build or rent or buy homes, right? It's a place where we can relax, where we can nourish ourselves, where we can nurture ourselves, where we're safe from the elements, safe from animals, safe from other people who might want to harm us. We're in a safe place. Hopefully, you have some semblance of that, at least a bedroom or something where you can go, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it's not the case. But we can always build our inner home. We can always build our inner safe space. And we want to build it of positive associations. Those are the building blocks of the astral safe space. Sometimes we call this our astral temple, the place where we cultivate our energy. We want to cultivate energy there. We want to bring in the things that give us joy. We want to feed our hearts. As we've come to understand this exercise, we've come to understand just how really powerful it is. We're not just imagining a safe space, we're feeding our hearts, we're activating our hearts. This is our heart centered awareness. This is the beginning of our gamma awareness, our gamma state. By cultivating, by bringing in the things that give us joy. If you don't have anything in your life that brings you joy, and that is the case with some people, then there's some work that needs to be done. But most of us have at least a few things, some memories, some people, some pets, some ideas, anything. Even if it's just a stupid meme that you saw on Facebook or something like that, even that, if it makes you laugh, it's bringing you joy. Laughter is extremely healing. I've been to Buddhist rituals where they just walk around and laugh. That's their mantra, just laughing. It's very powerful. It's healing. It lightens us. It produces oxytocin in our bodies. It's what keeps us moving forward. It's what brings us motivation. If you can summon any level of joy in that place, even if it's a challenging place for you, even if you have a hard time there, that joy will banish those things that are giving you trouble. And that's probably why we really feel so much better when we begin to just find humor in our moments. If we can find humor in any situation, if we can find the joy, the levity in any situation, we will always be safe at an astral level, at a psychic level, because nothing can touch us. Even the most fearful things, even the most scary things are banished by laughter. Val, I'm glad that you love it. We love it too. I love toning. I can just sit and tone all day, and I do sometimes. So, yes, we want to cultivate our energy. We want to bring the things that we love into our space, and we need to do this. This is important. It's not just imaginative work, it's not escapism, it's investing time in ourselves. Even if you're alone all day, are you really spending quality time with yourself? Are you really allowing yourself to enjoy yourself? You think of yourself as a friend. Are you being a good friend to yourself? Are you investing in yourself? This isn't to say that we should spend all of our time just focusing all of our energy on ourselves. We're all compassionate people, we're all loving, giving people, and we want to have relationships. We need to connect. This is the purpose of life, is to connect with others and to nourish our relationships and nurture the people around us. But to have effective relationships in life, we really need to make sure that we have spent time on ourselves. The old maxim, you have to love yourself for others to love you, that's almost a cliche. And there's a lot of truth in that. There's a lot of truth in that time that we spend. Love is not so much just a thing, it's an action. It's an action, right? The action of loving ourselves, the action of loving others. It's important to spend time with ourselves, to just reflect, to just contentedly be with ourselves. If you can do this for 1 minute a day, then your life will be shifted. If you can do this for 5 minutes a day, you'll begin to feel happier. If you can do this for an hour a day, then your entire experience will be transformed. And I can promise this because I've seen it happen so many times. I've seen it with myself. And at some point, if you're interested, I would be happy to tell any of you my life story and my backstory, which is a long one, but from what I've been through and from what my partner Star has been through, the transformations that we've made by cultivating our heart centers, by cultivating our deep awareness, it's just beyond description. And this is science. This is not just law of attraction. This is not just some general principle. These have been shown true. If you're familiar with the work that HeartMath has done, they've actually shown scientifically over and over again how much cultivating our heart-centered awareness affects us, because other people can feel how we feel. Other people can sense how we feel. And if we're acting like we're miserable, even if we're not expressing that we're miserable, they'll be able to sense us, and the people won't want to be around us. It's that simple. It's that true. So to have effective relationships, to have loving, nurturing relationships, we have to spend a little bit of time with ourselves. We have to spend some real quality time with ourselves. And if you do this all day, great. I applaud you. And hopefully that enables you to have the nurturing experiences that you need. So that is the astral boundary. And it's very simple in certain ways, but it's also very profound. So thank you for listening to me talk about these things. I really love talking about these things. And now I'm going to offer you, if you would like to sit back and join us, about a 5 or 10 minute guided journey experience. And this is much of what we do in Akashic Trancework to practically apply these tools and to communicate with the subconscious. So I invite you now to find a nice, comfortable place to sit back. You may want to lay back. I recommend having headphones, and I'll allow just about 30 seconds if you need to get ready. Just sit back and relax. Find a nice, comfortable rhythm of the breath, making any adjustments you might need to make to fully and deeply relax, choosing to relax as much as you want to, and then relaxing just a little bit more. There's nowhere to go right now, nothing to do, no obligation, no responsibilities, at least not for the next few minutes. This is your time you set aside for yourself to just relax and be with yourself. And as you relax deeper, we'll count to 5 on the inhale and 5 on the exhale. I'll count for you. Just relax. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just continue to breathe and relax, just observing your thoughts and feelings that pass through your mind. All thoughts are okay. All feelings are okay. All distractions are okay. Just allow them to be there. Just be fully present with yourself. Just spend some time with yourself here in this space. There's nowhere else to be. As you observe thoughts and feelings, sensations, just relax a bit deeper now, and we'll count to 7 on the inhale and 7 on the exhale. As you relax even deeper, breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Relax. And you begin to imagine a safe, warm, happy place. A place of peace. Place of relaxation. Place of joy and calm. It can be a realistic place or a fully abstract place. All that matters is that you feel good there, is that you can relax there. Be there fully with all of your senses. What colors and shapes are present? What texture? What smell? What sound? Bring in the things that bring you joy. The people, the animals, the plants, the memory, the ideas, the concepts, the feeling, the things that make you happy. And as you do this, your cells remember, your body remembers what it's like to feel happy, what it's like to feel joy. And you see now that you are always safe in this space, here in your heart center. You breathe and relax. This is a place where only joy belongs, only peace and calm. If anything else comes up, any difficult, distracting, uncomfortable thoughts or feelings, you can send them away for a moment. Let them know that you will connect with them later when it's time. For now, you're spending time with yourself, whatever your obligations might be, even if it's people you love. You can take some time for yourself here. You may find that some of those things resist. Some of those things do not want to go. They want your attention. They want your time. They want your energy. You now have the power to choose how much of your time and energy you want to give to those things. How much time each day will you spend thinking about that person or that memory, that responsibility, that obligation, that worry? If you can effectively create this boundary within yourself, you can effectively create a boundary with any being, anywhere, at any time, simply by choosing where to direct your focus, where to direct your energy and your time. Take a moment to set any boundaries you need to set within yourself, to decide how much time you will spend here in this space each day. A minute, 5 minutes, an hour. Choose now. And then when you are ready, begin slowly, gently, gradually bringing yourself out of this place, back to your physical space, to your physical body, stretching and moving your fingers and toes, allowing yourself to re-engage your physical experience, but remembering how to get back to that space. Just breathing, relaxing, and remembering what it looks like and what it feels like. If you can go there for 1 minute each day, your life will be changed. So we appreciate all of you being present with us today. I wanted to invite you to share about your experience. We have a few minutes left. If you'd like to talk about what you experienced or ask any questions or provide any feedback, let us know what did and did not work for you. We're open and we're here. Yeah, we always have these tools with us. And that's the nice thing about breathing and toning. We can do it anywhere. You can do it in the woods. You can do it in your bedroom. You can do it while riding the bus. Again, I don't recommend doing it too much while you're driving, but if you're feeling a lot of anxiety, if you're feeling a lot of tension, just breathing or toning can be some very quick sort of first aid for those types of things. You're welcome, Val. Thanks for being here. So I wanted to just briefly tell you all about how you can engage with us more. You'll receive an email after this session if you registered. I believe you all did. And it'll have all the information that we covered today, as well as some links to some other resources. If you would like to engage with us more, you can schedule a free private 30-minute consult with myself. And we can explore some of these things or just hold space, talk about whatever's going on with you, where you'd like to be in life, and what you'd like to do with the Akashic record if you're interested in that. We also offer a class now. We have what we call the Akashic Trancework initiation. We have a self-paced class that we offer. So if you'd like to learn more about that, go to Akashic Trance akashictrancework.com/initiation. You can also follow us on Facebook if you're not already there at Akashic Trancework. So we very much appreciate all of you being present. We appreciate you sharing. And if there's anything you would like to do, there is actually a worksheet that you'll receive in the email as well, I should have mentioned, that will allow you to assess your trance experience. So if you'd like to fill that out and get it back to us, we will respond within a couple of days and give you some tips and tricks on how you can further maximize your astral experiences. Thanks, Alex. Deepest blessings. I hope that you all enjoyed this experience. If you would like to come to another one of these sometime, you're welcome to. I like to mix them up so it's not necessarily the same experience each time. So thanks again. Blessings. Have a wonderful day.